Hey guys, it seems like when things get tough, it's really easy to turn to food to regulate your mood, but this can be really dangerous. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy food, you can and you should, but food should really be used as fuel for your body, not for your mood. Let's talk about this. Food is something that all humans can bond over. We all have to eat and enjoy eating. People gather around food, we celebrate with it, we mourn over it, we do so much with it. But when food is used as a coping mechanism or a reward system, it gets super unhealthy super fast. It isn't always obvious, but many of us lean on food this way. Using food as a coping mechanism and a reward system can and often does lead to unhealthy relationships with food and yourself. So here are some examples of times that we use food as a coping mechanism. When you are stressed, you can use it as stress management. For example, I had a hard day at work today, so I'm going to stop by my favorite fast food chain on my way home. Also, mood regulation is a thing we do with food, such as anger management, like I had a fight with my partner, so I'm going to eat this ice cream to calm myself down. Or combating depression. I'm depressed because I don't like how I look today, so I'm going to eat this to make me momentarily forget. And finally, the last one I could come up with is avoiding stress or feeling overwhelmed towards food. For example, eating healthy is scary, difficult, and overwhelming, so I'm not going to worry about it. I know that last one I did a lot. And then here are some examples of common times we use eating as a reward system. Celebrations, holidays, birthdays, social gatherings, etc. People also tend to eat at these events because they feel pressured, or they may even feel it doesn't count. I assure you it counts. This is why it's such a big deal that we all try to avoid gaining weight during the holiday season. And then achievements. Many people turn to food as a reward for achieving things in their day-to-day life. So why shouldn't you always turn to food? Turning to food for every issue creates more problems for you in the future. The most obvious problem here is weight gain. It doesn't take much to see the connection here, but it's there. You can also develop issues with being able to easily control your emotions later down the line. If you become dependent on food for stabilizing your emotions, you may find yourself struggling to do so on your own in the event that food is not immediately available. You may also find that eating your problems away instead of properly addressing them tends to leave you with unsolved problems. So if you decide to eat that ice cream to deal with your anger instead of talking to your partner to figure out a solution, the problem will only bubble under the surface and eventually return bigger and badder than before. If you get your mind and body used to turning to food for all or even most of your problems, food addiction or dependency can pop up. You can actually convince your brain that you need food in order to cope with your issues. Once this happens, it's incredibly difficult to get out of it, but it's not impossible. So how do you know when eating is the answer? When you feel like it's time to eat, I have a suggestion. Take the time to answer these 3 questions before eating anything every time you eat. What are you feeling in the moment? Emotionally and physically. Why do you feel this way? Have you gotten enough sleep, nutrients, self-care? How can you take care of these feelings and needs in a healthy way? Now, if you are hungry because you didn't get enough protein or water or healthy carbs, then you should eat the nutrients that you're missing. Please do not starve yourself. However, if you are hungry because you're sad, angry, overwhelmed, or otherwise upset, it might be time to look for another way to handle these emotions. So what should you do when food cannot or should not be the answer? I dug up 4 healthy coping skills that you can implement instead of turning to food. If you're trying to better your relationship with food, the first coping skill is to establish your why behind the action. And then once you establish it, remind yourself when you're struggling. Some examples are your kids and loved ones, your health, your own happiness, physical goals like I want to look good in that outfit, or I want to learn to climb, or maybe even I want to keep up with my kids. The possibilities are endless here. Just try to be specific when you're coming up with your why, and keep in mind you can have multiple reasons. The second coping skill is to practice grounding. You should take a moment to cement yourself in reality and take in your surroundings. You can do this by meditating for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, however long you need, or you can take 3 deep breaths with pauses in between where you hold your breath, or you can just simply focus on 3 senses. For example, touch something soft, look at something colorful, smell something calming, and do all 3 of those at the same time. Once you have centered yourself in reality and calmed down, reevaluate if you are still hungry. If you are, it might be time to eat. If not, it might have been just an emotional reaction, and you should adjust your actions accordingly. The third coping skill is to create a vision board. And then once you have your vision board, look at it as often as you can, and especially when you're struggling. So think about the why you established earlier. Set goals based off of your why, and find pictures that represent them. Put these pictures on a piece of cardboard or a poster board or something similar. Hang your vision board where you can easily look at it and do so as often as you can. Maybe you could look at it as you eat or before you eat, but definitely look at it when you're struggling. And the final coping skill is if you do end up giving in and turning to food as a coping mechanism, do not beat yourself up. This is going to happen because we're human. None of us are perfect. None of us can change overnight. Try not to dwell on it. Take a mental note and move forward. And keep in mind, healthy coping skills should always have room for human error and self-forgiveness. So once again, I wanted to remind you guys that I am not a professional. I do not have any kind of degree or education that would allow me to give you guys direct information or direct instructions. So do not make any changes to your diet without talking to your doctor. Also, if you do struggle with a food addiction or something similar that is keeping you from being able to have the relationship you want with food, talk to your therapist and psychiatrist. They're going to be able to help you better than I can. And finally, you need a dietitian. Please seek one out if you don't already have one. I've mentioned before that you should give it a chance with a nutritionist, regardless of your past experiences. I just want to reiterate, even if you think you don't need one, you do, especially if you've had bariatric surgery. But even if you haven't, there's a sea of information out there, and it can make you think, I can figure this out on my own. But there's also a sea of misinformation out there, and it can be really hard to tell the difference. The only way to tell the difference is to go through years of schooling that teach you how to tell that difference. And chances are you need this information now, not 10 years from now after you've learned how to tell the difference. So go see someone who has gone through the schooling and can tell the difference. Go see a nutritionist. And yes, you are the expert of your body, but the nutritionist is going to be the expert of putting food in your body to fuel it properly. So just give it a chance. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to cover on this subject. If I left anything out that you want to know about or you need to hear from me, please mention it in the comments and I'll do my best to address it. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. I will definitely reply to any comments or questions that you may have. Also, as of today, I've started my Wellness Wheel Challenge. So check in next week for my first update on that. And today is Mental Health Awareness Day. So happy Mental Health Awareness Day. I hope today's video is helpful in your pursuit of mental wellness and even physical wellness. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.